Welcome to this week's Saturday Travel and History Tip, and I want to encourage you, if you have not watched part 1 of this series on the Grands, I recommend that you go back and watch last Saturday's Travel and History Tip as the introduction to this series. Last week we spoke about the balsams in the Dixville Notch. Today we will be talking about Mountain View Grand and the Mount Washington Hotel. Mountain View Grand is located in Whitefield, New Hampshire. It is a beautiful resort in all seasons. Since 1865, Mountain View Grand Resort and Spa has been an inspiring New Hampshire resort for guests to relax and recharge. Our surroundings and historic design combines panoramic New Hampshire white mountain vistas and elegantly appointed 141 guest rooms and suites for an unforgettable experience. And here's a picture of Shelley and Carter Davis in front of the Mountain View Grand in the winter. And we want to thank Carter again for the great bump music that he has done for us. The bump music on our nuggets is by Carter Davis, and the bump music used in the Saturday Travel and History Tips are Carter Davis and our son Paul Groman's music. It is absolutely a spectacular structure. We have been blessed to be able to have lunch at the Balsams Hotel before they closed, and we have had a lovely dinner in the Harvest Tavern at the Mountain View Grand. And we have had lunch several times at Stickney's in the Mount Washington Hotel. But here at the Mountain View Grand, you can enjoy distinct dining venues right on our grounds and enjoy the farm-to-table fare in the Harvest Tavern, which is what we did. Combining first-class comfort with casual elegance and attentive personalized service, this classic New Hampshire White Mountain Resort presents a dazzling array of offerings and amenities all wrapped in a timeless storybook setting. It is the oldest surviving Grand Hotel in New Hampshire and one of only 5 left in the state. In recognition of its place in history, it is listed on the National Register of Historic Places and is part of the elite Historic Hotels of America. The resort also holds AAA 4-diamond status. From its birth in 1865, Mountain View Grand Resort and Spa quickly grew from its humble beginnings as the family farm of William and Mary Jane Dodge to a full-service resort popular among Presidents Harding and Eisenhower. The Dodge family served devoted guests through succeeding generations until 1979, when the resort passed through several owners before closing in 1986. In the years that followed, the resort fell into serious state of disrepair. It was during this time that we and Lisa and David Clifford actually snowshoed across the property. It was dormant for 16 years until it was returned to its former glory at a cost of $20 million and opened its doors to excitement and fanfare in the summer of 2002. Our friend Echo, Joel and Bonnie's daughter, actually worked at the Mountain View Grand for a season. And here are some pictures of the current meeting room and some old historic photos of the new dining room from 1965 from this great book on the Grand Resort Hotels. Here are some pictures of how the Mountain View Grand has grown over the decades. Story has it that it was some weary travelers traveling from Boston to Quebec who actually just knocked on the Dodge's farmhouse door and asked if they could spend the night. When they awoke that next morning and saw the grand views and the hospitality of the Dodges, well, that's where the story began, and it still continues. The views are spectacular. We had actually hiked Cherry Mountain Slide to see beautiful views of this resort hotel, and that evening is when we did eat in the Harvest Tavern. It is a vast 1,700 private acres with spectacular panoramic views of Mount Washington and the Presidential Mountain Range. Then there's the Mount Washington Resort, which I discussed some in one of our previous Saturday Travel and History Tips. This Grand has a history behind it. It's gracious in ambiance and is generous in amenities. It's a favorite New England retreat of presidents, poets, and celebrities. It too has a classic Donald Ross designed golf course. But get your credit card handy. Rooms range in price from $469 to $1,434 per night. It was constructed between 1900 and 1902 at a cost of $1.7 million. That would be approximately $53 million today. It was constructed by Joseph Stickney, a native of Concord, New Hampshire, who had made a fortune before the age of 30 as a coal broker in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania. And speaking of coal, we had taken you to Eckley's Miner Village in Pennsylvania, a mining town, on one of our Saturday travel and history tips. Again, our nation's history interlocks and weaves a beautiful tapestry of Americana. Stickney died in 1903, only a year after the grand opening. His wife Carol spent many years there and added to the buildings. In 1936, Mrs. Stickney's nephew, Foster Reynolds, inherited the hotel, but it closed in 1942 because of World War II. A Boston syndicate bought the extensive property for about $450,000 in 1944. The Bretton Woods Monetary Conference took place that year, establishing the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. The owners were paid $300,000 for the loss of business and promised a daily room charge of $18 per person for the 19-day conference. Here is the Gold Room, where the International Monetary Fund and World Bank were established during the 1944 Bretton Woods Conference. The Mount Washington Hotel and Resort is one of the last surviving grand hotels in the White Mountains, and as I said earlier, it includes an 18-hole Donald Ross designed golf course, as well as the hotel's original 9-hole course designed by A.H. Findlay. It was declared a National Historic Landmark in 1986. The hotel opened for its first winter season in 1999. Now understand, many of these grand hotels were not open during the winter because of the inability to heat. Before that year, the hotel would close to guests late in fall and open in the spring. The entire hotel was overhauled before the winter, with efficient windows installed in the entire hotel. And what's really neat is one of our close friends actually worked installing those windows back in 1999. And here are just some glorious photos in summer and winter of the Mount Washington Resort. There is fine dining at this gorgeous grand hotel. We enjoy going to Stickney's. Just down the hallway is the Cave. The Cave, now a nightclub. The Cave was a popular bar and grill getaway. The cool, dark spot, decorated with a moss-covered ceiling, emphasized the rather bohemian atmosphere of the club and of the times. During the Prohibition era, guests drank out of teacups to disguise the liquor. This is an actual speakeasy from Prohibition days. This is American history. Next week, we will go to some ruins of 2 grand hotels, one in New Hampshire and one in Vermont. The Hotel Brunswick Springs in Vermont and the Wambach House, Jefferson Hill, New Hampshire. American history. Learn it, love it, appreciate it. Don't let them steal our history. Treasure our American history. A friend of mine sent these 2 pictures, and this is the text she sent. Wow, you covered a lot of ground in history in your last post. I've done timelines with Linda years ago. You got me thinking about voting. You've told me my great-grandmother couldn't vote, but maybe the last 2 years of her life, if there were elections those years. She may never have voted for a president or at all. Not a great pick, but what we should expect for something late 1800s or early 1900s. I'd like to know how she got from Illinois to Ossipee, New Hampshire in her day. And she was named Jerusha. Hey, I found her handsome husband. This was who she left Illinois for, to go to New Hampshire to live in Ossipee. Ossipee was his home and birthplace. He was born in 1839. Possibly the Civil War brought them together. I had family on both sides. I am grateful that people enjoy these Saturday travel and history tips and take to heart our American history. And many of the other Saturday travel and history tips intertwine with this wonderful part of American history in the 19th and 20th centuries. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell to be alerted when we post new nuggets and Saturday history and travel tips. And if you appreciate these videos and you can partner with us on a monthly or one-time basis, we would greatly appreciate that. The links are in the description below.